Welcome back to BST, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode. We're back with another NFL reaction to Week 16 on the Saturday and Sunday games. It's been a little been since Thursday when we reacted to the Rams-Seahawks game, which was awesome. And there were several others that over Saturday and Sunday that were really good as well. Before we get into it, please like, subscribe, comment. All those things help out a ton and is greatly appreciated. But yeah, it was a good slate of games, I would say. But let's just jump right into the games, and then afterwards we'll do the power rankings, which are getting kind of crazy, I will say. But let's just start with the Saturday night game. Probably the best game of the weekend. It was definitely up there. Bears 22, Packers 16 in overtime. As a Packers fan, this one hurts a lot. And I think there's no better place to start than I thought the Packers dominated the game for 55 minutes. They really did. And where it all went wrong for the Packers is you go to the red zone 5 times, you have to capitalize, you have to score. And they didn't. They went 0 for 5 in the red zone. They kicked 3 field goals. They turned it over on downs once, and they fumbled once. You can't do that. And the fumble came at like the 3-yard line. It's just brutal. You can't have things like that. So that's where it went wrong for the Packers. You can look at it as Chicago locked it down in the red zone, which they did. You can give them credit for that. But I do think LaFleur just needed to do a better job at giving them, just kind of easy looks. And, of course, Jacobs just can't fumble there. You're 3 yards away, and you have a bruising back like Jacobs. He just can't fumble. That's like 101 of football. You can't fumble anywhere, but in the red zone, it's brutal because you're that close to scoring. So that's where it went wrong for the Packers because they just gave away too many opportunities. If you capitalize on even just 2 out of the 5, you're already at like the upper 20s to 30s in points, and the Bears can't come back because the Bears offense was really doing nothing all game. The Packers defense, which the storylines leading up was, oh no, Micah Parsons, what is this defense going to be like? And I thought they played phenomenally. We saw a lot more of what they did last year, sending Cooper and Quay Walker on blitzes. And honestly, I feel like they almost got more pressure on Caleb in this game than they did the previous game with Micah Parsons. So I think what Jeff Hafley's seeing here is he doesn't have Micah Parsons to be. They can't rush for. They can't. They don't have the players, the personnel to rush for and get pressure on the quarterback. So Jeff Hafley's like, all right, fine. I'm just gonna send a bunch of blitzers, and we're gonna figure it out on the back end. And I thought the back end played great, except for one player. That's Keyshawn Nixon. He was absolutely god awful. And I guess let's just segue that to basically how the collapse happened. Because most of the game, it was just the Packers getting stops on defense. Cairo Santos had a good game kicking, making some field goals, and the Packers just kind of marching on offense, but not being able to score in the red zone. And their one touchdown is a beautiful deep ball by Malik Willis to Romeo Doubs. And first, let's go there. Jordan Love gets injured in the second quarter, gets concussed. Everybody's kind of saying it was a dirty hit. I don't know. I can see it both ways. Love kind of ducks down, takes his head down, and then it gives the defender like kind of a tough spot because he does lead with his helmet, so I can see why the call was made. But either way, it's an unfortunate hit, but it's part of the game. So Love gets knocked out, and I think every Packers fan can agree with me here. When Malik Willis goes in the game, it's weird, but like you almost have a sense of confidence for some reason. And I can't put my finger on it, but like when he went in the game, I almost felt more confident that we were going to win. And he was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal, I thought. Like he played so good. And like the aspect that he brings is of course his legs that Love just doesn't really have. Like Love is kind of just like a giraffe. Like he's not elegant. He's not shifty. He has some decent speed, but it takes him a while to get going. With Willis, it's like boom, he's gone. Or like there's pressure up the middle, boom, he's out. And he maneuvered around the pocket really well and ran for first downs. Like his legs are super good, and he's a super underrated player. Like if I'm a team and I don't really have a for sure quarterback situation good to go next year, Malik Willis is a free agent. I'm calling his agent. I'm like, hey, well, what do you want? Like, we'll pay you like $10 million like Daniel Jones got paid this year. You know, like Malik Willis is perfectly capable of winning you games. And up until this point, like in every Packers game he's played, he was undefeated. And honestly, in this game, he should have been. And so I just want to preface that. Like Malik Willis was phenomenal. But let's go to the end of the game where I mean, that's what this game was. And so the Packers are up 13-6, I believe. And they score the field goal. So yeah, they're up 13-6 after a field goal by the Bears. And then the Packers drive down the field, kick their own field goal in a situation where they were also in the red zone. So now it's 16-6. And then what was the final time remaining on that? Yeah, with 5:03 left in the fourth, they kicked the field goal. So 5 minutes left, you're up by 10. It's pretty simple, man. You should be able to, ice away the game, even if they score a touchdown. Just get the ball back and ice away the game. And then the Bears go on a field goal drive. They kind of get down there, and then they get to a point where I think that was the horrible face mask penalty. I think. Yeah. So that was the face mask penalty. So the Packers have him in like 3rd and 20 or whatever, and they sack him, but it's a face mask. So then they get an automatic first down, but they still kind of mutter a little bit, and then they end up kicking the field goal to make it a 7-point game, which was smart. You know how much time on the clock? That took 3 minutes to get the field goal. So you're up by 7. And then stupid Romeo Doubs, the idiot, muffs the onside kick. Just looks like he has no idea what the fuck he's doing. Sorry. Language, but he didn't. He looked like he had no idea. No idea. And the Bears get it. And then they go and score a touchdown, which Keyshawn Nixon completely blows his assignment in the end zone. And, I mean, the Packers called a perfect pressure, got pressure on Caleb Williams, but, I mean, he just has a wide open man in the back of the end zone. So, I mean, it was just nothing. Like, it was worth nothing to blitz him because Keyshawn Nixon can't cover. So, it's tie game, and it's going into overtime. And the Packers get the ball, and they get like to the 50 or the 40 of Chicago, and Malik Willis on 4th and 1 must have it, fumbles the snap, and they don't get it. Few plays later, Caleb Williams hits the deep post to DJ Moore on Keyshawn Nixon to win the game. And I think every Packers fan has pointed this out. It was eerily similar to that 2014 NFC Championship game where the Packers are up with 5 minutes left remaining in the fourth. They muff an onside kick, and Seahawks in that game tie it, and it goes to overtime. And they hit a deep post to win it. Eerily similar, and it sucks. But if I'm looking at this game, the Packers didn't have their starting quarterback. The other injuries are whatever. Packers fans pointing to Parsons. I get it, man, but a lot of teams get injured. But to me, like, at the end of the day, when you don't have your starting quarterback, to only lose by 6 to a team like this in overtime, that's a good effort. I thought the Packers played phenomenally. I really did. I thought they fought a lot of adversity going into this game. I thought they really fought hard. I thought Matt LaFleur coached a phenomenal game. So anybody saying fire Matt LaFleur, screw you, get out of here. Matt LaFleur coached a phenomenal game, called a phenomenal game plan for Malik Willis. It just came down to those red zone opportunities, not capitalizing. They should have had a pick on Caleb Williams early on in the game. I mean, McKinney last year caught so many interceptions, and this year he can't catch one. Like he is butterfingers, man. So you got to catch your interceptions. You got to score in the red zone. And you got to recover the onside kick. Like those are the three like main opportunities that went so horribly for Green Bay. And that's why they lost this game. And for Chicago, I know Bears fans are going to be on their high horse because they just won their Super Bowl. This is all they needed for the season. Wearing cheese grater hats and shit. The Packers outplayed you. And for 2 games now, the Packers have played the better game. You can argue the second half last week, the Bears played pretty well. I think every Packers fan, and including that locker room in Green Bay, is going to want to face you again in the wild card because they know they can beat you. They know that. So great win, Chicago. Congratulations. But I wouldn't talk just yet because it's looking like a 2-7 matchup between Chicago and Green Bay is going to happen again. And we'll see who comes out on top then. I'm going to take the team who has dominated both games. That's just me. But it was a great game. A great game objectively. If you were a Packers fan, it was not so much a great game. But let's move on to our next contest. Panthers-Buccaneers, another divisional matchup. This is starting to get weird. The Buccaneers were 5-1 at one point. 5-1, man. 5-1. Like that is a phenomenal record. And now they are 7-8. 7-8. What has happened to the Buccaneers? And it's just all wrong. And I think you see in Jacksonville, which we'll talk about their game in a minute, Liam Cohen is doing phenomenal things there. He left Tampa. Could that be the reason? Maybe. But it's also just coming down to Baker Mayfield's not playing like he was early on. He's not. In this game, 145 yards, a touchdown, a pick. He did not play well. And I mean, these are big games. And this one doesn't really matter, I don't think, because I guess unless they lose next week and Carolina wins. So they need to lose next week, Carolina. If they win next week and the Buccaneers lose next week, they win the division, I believe. But ultimately, I'm just happy for Carolina, man. This is an awesome story. So much adversity has been faced. You draft Bryce Young, and he's just really not. He wasn't impressive from the get-go, but they didn't really have a phenomenal team. Now they do, and they're really just playing good football. And Canales is a phenomenal coach. He was the offensive coordinator for Tampa a few years back. Now he might eliminate them. I can't just preface this like Bryce Young is playing some really good football and just key football. Like he had some throws yesterday in the clutch where it's just like that's who they drafted right there. And is he going to be shaky? Do I think he's a great quarterback? No, but I love this story that the Carolina Panthers, who were like crucified for drafting Bryce Young, where they did, and at first overall pick, trading all they traded to get him. I love that it's finally starting to pay off, and they might get a division win. Nobody would have guessed that. And look at the wins they've had to get here. They beat the Green Bay Packers. They beat the LA Rams. I mean, those are huge wins. Huge wins. Like, those are the two of the best teams in the NFC to get here. I mean, what a phenomenal path, and I really hope they just finish it out. But yeah, for Tampa, it's just, there's something wrong here, and I don't know what it is, but, if you look at their offense, you think the pieces are here, but they're just not. Like, Bucky Irving, not the same efficiency he had last year, only 3.7 yards per carry this season, or this game, and that's kind of what he has on the season. It's just, there's something weird. And Ibuka was going off early on in the season. Now he has one catch for 40 yards. That's their leading receiver. I mean, it's just not good right now in Tampa. And it's going to be a historic collapse if you were at 5-1. And now you've gone 2-7 over the past 9 games. That is ridiculously bad. But I'm all here for it because I want Carolina to win this division. And they got some good players, and you never know. You never know what can happen in the playoffs. But yeah, I just really like what Carolina is building there over with Dave Canales as head coach and Bryce Young at quarterback. So yeah, that's just kind of brief thoughts on the game. Moving on. Steelers-Lions. As a Packers fan, this game was awesome because Aaron Rodgers eliminated. I wouldn't say eliminated just yet. It's not for sure, but nearly eliminates the Detroit Lions, 29-24. What a game! And these Aaron Rodgers Steelers looking pretty good right now. And of course, Lions are injured to all hell. So, what can you really say about it? They're offensively. I mean, Steelers had multiple long touchdown runs. It felt like in the third quarter and fourth quarter, the Steelers were converting every single third down. They couldn't get off the field. What were their final stats on third down? It felt like, 8 of 16. And I swear every single one of those came in the third and fourth quarter, dude. They were just marching on them. And it was like 3rd and 10. Oh, complete to Adam Thielen. 3rd and 8. Complete to Adam Thielen. So, I mean, it seems like adding these veterans for Rodgers is doing some crazy things for this offense, like getting MVS, getting Thielen. And they're going to need them because midway through this game, DK Metcalf is a dumbass and decides to basically throw a jab at a fan. What the hell are you doing, DK? And now he's suspended for the next 2 games. 2 pivotal games to get you into the playoffs, and he's suspended for them. So they're going to need these guys to step up, and they did in this game. Scotty Miller was catching 3rd down conversions and 4th down conversions. Scotty Miller. I haven't heard of Scotty Miller since he toasted us in the NFC Championship in 2020, us being the Packers. Just crazy game. I mean, it was a phenomenal game. So the Steelers' offense was humming. And Detroit obviously just could not really get anything going. And they've had moments this season against like the Packers, against certain teams where they cannot run the ball. They cannot run the ball whatsoever. I think, what was Gibbs' final stat line? It was weird. Yeah. 7 carries for 2 yards. What? How is that even possible? How is that even fathomably possible? One of the best running backs in the league, you hold him to 2 yards, and Monty wasn't much better, 4 for 14. 15 total yards as a team on 12 carries with a long of 17 yards. That's what's crazy too. Monty had a 17-yard run and finished with 14 yards. What a weird game from the Lions. And it's happened this season. They just can't run the ball for some reason. But Goff was phenomenal. And it all comes down to that last play at the end where they call the OPI on St. Brown. And they try to pitch it back to Goff, and he gets into the end zone. That would have been awesome. If Goff ended up scoring that there, that would have been freaking phenomenal. It would have been so funny. Like, Jared Goff dives in the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. But they call the OPI on Detroit, so the Steelers win. And now for Detroit, you're staring down the barrel of no playoffs this season, which going in was unfathomable. Unfathomable. You couldn't even think of a scenario where you would be missing the playoffs in 2025. Really. Like, ask any Lions fan. And they've been injured. Like I said, like they don't have Kirby Joseph. They don't have Brian Branch. Those are tough injuries, and their corners have been ravaged this season. And they definitely came into the year with a worse O-line than they had last year. All those things are true, but still, this is a shocking result if they're not able to make the playoffs. They need the Packers to lose out, and they need to win out. Could happen for sure, and I could be eating my words right now, but I would say it's somewhat unlikely. And I don't think it's time to panic. I think the thing here is you've seen your limitations with Goff, and I'm not suggesting they should get rid of Goff, but he's going to be making a lot of money over the remainder of his contract. And I'm wondering, like, if you get the right opportunity to draft a quarterback, if you pull the trigger. Because Goff, I mean, what is he, 30, 31? 30, it might be like 30. What is Jared Goff age? Yeah, 31. And I mean, that's kind of right in the prime, right at kind of the end of the prime of a quarterback. So I'm not suggesting they get rid of Goff, but you've seen kind of the limitations with Goff. And he played phenomenal in this game, like I said. But I'm just trying to brainstorm, like, where do the Lions go from here? Because they have a really good roster and really good players. They definitely need to kind of rebuild that O-line a little bit. They have good pieces on there, but I think the guards especially are a little bit weak. That could be why they aren't able to run the ball as well. And defensively, I think they just need to strengthen that D-line. They're going to get their secondary pieces back, probably get in their corner because their corners have just kind of been burnt toast this year anyway. So kind of shuffle those things. And I think if you end up missing the playoffs, you have a kind of pick in the teens. And, a quarterback drops that you like, I wouldn't mind you pulling the trigger there. And I get it. Jared Goff has been good in his Lions career. And I certainly think you could win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. But you've seen the limitations, and change probably needs to happen after an 8-7, whatever they end up finishing season. So it's just a weird situation, man. It's a weird situation. But they're going to have to try and figure it out if they want to make a run at the Super Bowl next year. And it just shows you in the NFL how fast things can flip. I mean, this team was a few plays in the NFC Championship game a few years ago away from going to the Super Bowl. And last year, it felt like the season early on, they were dominating teams and they got super injured, and, it's all went to shit. And now they're going to miss the playoffs. They were bad for decades. Finally get their team and have a 2-year window, and then it's just shut. And I'm not saying it's shut forever, but like in the grand schemes of now, it looks somewhat shut. Like, that is absolutely brutal. That is absolutely brutal, but that's just the league right now. So yeah, it's tough, but we'll see if they get what they need to make the playoffs. But even if you do, I'm not sure. I think that could just prolong the inevitable. Like, you have to make changes to this roster, and especially to the coordinators. I mean, that's also a big piece of this. Like, you lose Ben Johnson, you lose Aaron Glenn. I would say both units have pretty much regressed. I do think their defensive coordinator, I'm blanking on the guy's name, has been pretty good, but especially offensively, like, it's just regressed. And just like they're not as dominant as they used to be. And I don't think they had a game under Ben Johnson where they ran for 15 yards. So I don't know if that's Ben Johnson, but there is something there to that. But Pittsburgh gets a huge win in their path to the playoffs. And Mike Tomlin has officially unlocked another winning season. It'd be so funny if they lost the next two, finished 9-8, and missed the playoffs. That'd be kind of funny. But they're going to be battling Baltimore down the stretch for a spot in the playoffs as the AFC North winners. But they get a big win here. All right. Patriots-Ravens, Sunday Night Football. It was a good game. Kind of a weird game, to be honest. I don't know. So Lamar goes out early in the game. It was like right at halftime he left the game. So coming out of halftime, you have Tyler Huntley, the Pro Bowler, by the way, coming into the game. And at one point, the Patriots were down 11 points. And it just felt like the Patriots' magic was kind of slipping away. And, Drake May wasn't having the greatest game. The Ravens were getting stops. Derrick Henry was running hard. And it kind of felt like, wow, okay, Ravens came to play tonight, and they're not going to have Lamar Jackson. They're still going to get it done. But ultimately, the Patriots come out on top, and Drake May hasn't had a 300-yard game all season, has 380. I mean, he played really good. That throw over the shoulder, Kyle Williams, is a phenomenal throw, unbelievable throw by him. So it was a huge win for New England because now Denver loses. You're right back in the 1 seed conversation. They still have the tiebreaker against you, but they lose one more. They face the Chargers or the Chiefs. Obviously, they'll probably beat the Chiefs, but the Chargers. The other thing, though, is the Chargers could then vault over the Broncos for the 1 seed. So the AFC is all over the place right now. In the NFC, we kind of have a bigger picture of who's a 1 seed, who's a whatever. But in the AFC, it's like it could go anywhere at this point. But yeah, this team doesn't quit. Vrabel doesn't quit. He has this team playing good football right now. Diggs had a phenomenal game. But I do think their defense is a little bit concerning. Since losing Milton Williams, they're like one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. And it's kind of what they prided themselves on early on when they had Milton Williams. So I don't think he's out for the season, but they're going to need him back if they want to seriously contend, because like Derrick Henry was running all over them. 18 carries, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. So that's going to be a problem. But that's kind of the Patriots side. But for the Ravens, like, this was a big game, and you controlled it. And I thought you were going to win at one point, and you got to try to keep up with the Steelers. So now you're 7-8, they're 9-6. So basically, you need to win the next 2, which would include beating the Steelers, and you need the Steelers to lose the next 2. So obviously, week 18, you control your own destiny, but you need them to lose next week, drop to 9-7, and you need to win, go to 8-8. And then you need to beat them in week 18 to go to 9-8 and drop them to 9-8. So it's going to be easy? No, but that's what you're going to need at this point. And you probably dug yourself too big of a hole to start the season, to be honest. And you're kind of reaping the negatives from that. And if Lamar's not good to go, he's some kind of back contusion, that's going to be problematic. Because at the end of the day, Tyler Huntley is a decent player, but he ain't Lamar Jackson. So yeah, it's a tough scene for Ravens fans, but I'm hoping we get to a point for the Week 18 game where the stakes are high, and we'll see who comes out on top. But New England, big win over the Ravens, 28-24. All right, let's talk about the Niners game last night. Let me start off by saying, let's give a round of applause to Phillip Rivers, man. That guy battled, and he had a phenomenal game. If I can pull up the stats here, he played really well, like kind of crazy well for a 44-year-old. Let's see what his final stats were. 23 for 35, 277 yards, touchdown and a pick, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And sure, did he miss throws? He doesn't have the arm he used to. He can't gun it down the field. But he just makes good decisions. And he was on fire to start the game. Crazy on fire. Like, he threw 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter. But if we just look at this Colts offense, they aren't running the ball like they did early on in the season. Since week 10, Jonathan Taylor now has 2 touchdowns. But he had like 16 before then. So, I mean, he is not running the ball like he used to. He had 46 yards in this game. He hasn't had 100 yards since week 10. I mean, we were talking about this guy as like breaking the rushing record, having the MVP. And now James Cook is firmly ahead in the rushing yards category, which is just crazy. So their offense is kind of shaky. But just hats off to Phillip Rivers. He didn't have to do this, and he's coming in here and he's playing better than a lot of players would in the league. A lot of backups would, for sure. But their season's probably over now. They're 8-7. It's going to be tough to catch Houston. And that might have eliminated them, actually. Nope, they're still alive at 8-7. But they're going to need Houston to lose the next 2. They need to win the next 2. So they put themselves in a little bit of a bind. I'm not saying it's for sure over, but it probably is. But what a season from the Colts, man. They were very good to start the season. Probably one of the better teams in football. And you lose your quarterback, and they're trying to battle. But, it's a memorable season for sure. But it'd be awesome to get Phillip Rivers in the playoffs. That would be really cool. But let's talk about the Niners, because this game was about them. 48 points on offense. That is insane. What a game. And Brock Purdy was on fire. Absolutely on fire. I mean, just like Phillip Rivers, he had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and I had him in fantasy, so I needed this kind of game from him. But 5 touchdowns on the day, 295 yards. I mean, he was just picking them apart. Like, there were wide open guys everywhere. They could not do anything to stop them. And McCaffrey was going 117 yards, had 2 touchdowns through the air. I mean, Kittle, Jennings, they got some pieces on offense that when they're humming, they're a very good offensive team. And so, I mean, great game for the Niners. And now they're firmly in the discussions of the 1 seed because they're now ahead of the Rams, which is crazy, in playoff seeding. The Rams are 6 seed, the Niners are the 5 seed. They're only a game back from the Seahawks, and they have a game against the Seahawks. This could get very, very interesting. If the Niners get the 1 seed, playoffs run through San Francisco all the way to the Super Bowl, because Super Bowl's in San Francisco, if that happens. At the end of the day, I do think their defensive injuries are a little too much to overcome, probably at the end of the day, in a playoff game. But what a story, man. What a phenomenal job by Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh, of battling through the adversity of all these injuries and putting a really, really good product on the field. And I do think against better teams, their defense ain't going to hold up. But if their offense scoring damn near 50 points, it doesn't matter. So I just want to say phenomenal job from the Niners. Phenomenal job. Absolutely phenomenal job from you guys. And they're kind of a scary team. And they go and play Chicago next week, and then they got Seattle, so it's not easy. But they've basically punched their ticket to the playoffs now. And it's going to be interesting to see how far this team can go. I mean, we've seen this team play for Super Bowls, but that was with Nick Bosa, that's with Fred Warner. If they had those guys, we're talking about maybe the best team in football right here. So, and they don't even have Pearsall. So once they get him back, another weapon on offense, this team's kind of scary for sure. But yeah, phenomenal win from the Niners, 48-27. All right, let's get to the Bracken Best here. For week 16, I guess probably should have done week 17. I don't know. Whatever. It's the after week 16 power rankings for the Bracken Best. All right. At number 10, Chicago Bears. Bears fans might hate me here, but, I'm not going to this ain't the record rankings. I'm not going to just look at your wins and be like, oh, they have 11 wins. Let's put them top 5. You've struggled in some of these games. Be objective with yourself. Don't get mad at me. Look at the season. You've struggled in these games. You've come up big in the fourth quarter, yes, but you've struggled in these games. You struggled against the Packers twice. You struggled to move the ball. In the first game, you came up short at the end, but you made a comeback. In the second game, you made a successful comeback, but it was also hinged on getting an onside kick, which is an 8% chance to get. And during this season, you're down against the Giants, you come back. You probably should have lost to the Commanders if Jaden Daniels doesn't fumble. You probably, the Raiders, kind of fumbled that game. So there's certain parts of the season where you've gotten pretty lucky with the other team making mistakes. That's been my argument all season with the turnovers. It's a lot of these turnovers are kind of making mistakes by the other team. So are you a good team? Yeah, you do a lot of things really good. But I don't think you're a great team at the end of the day. I just don't. And you can get mad at me for that. But I think if you put a blind, I think what you need to do in these situations is put a blind resume of a team. Don't attach a team name to it. Just look at the resumes blindly. What do they do? What do they do well? How do their games go? And rank them like that. And that's why I have the Bears at 10. Good team, no doubt. But you've gotten lucky in a lot of these games to escape with wins, in my opinion. At 9, the Packers. Packers have outplayed the Bears twice. They just have. And no Bears fan can argue that. And obviously the injuries suck, but as long as they have Love and LaFleur, I think this team is very good. Definitely one of the best offenses in the league. So I have the Packers at 9. I think this is kind of their ceiling at this point. I'm not sure they can really move up too far. I'm not sure they can go on a run at the end of the day. But I think they still belong in the top 10 because they still have a very good offense. So I got the Packers at 9. At 8, the Niners. Probably could move them up a little bit further, but again, they're winning games, but it's just in the back of my head, I'm like, that defense, man. That defense scares me a little bit. So I got them here. I think this is a good spot for them. Could they move up? For sure. But there's just a lot of good teams in the NFL right now. So Niners at 8. Texans at 7. Tough game against the Raiders. Sorry, blanking. Raiders kind of put up a fight, which was kind of weird. The Texans have been dominating bad teams, and the Raiders put up a fight. But Texans have the best defense in the league. And honestly, it was the offense who couldn't really come up with anything. They allowed a lot of explosives to Genti, but big time defense, best in the league easily. But that offense is their shortcoming. So at the end of the day, do I think they can win a Super Bowl? Probably not, but they're definitely a team I would not want to face in the first round. Number 6, the Broncos. Tough game against Jacksonville, but you still have a really good defense. But I think what we saw is how their team, they don't have what it takes on what am I trying to say? They don't have what it takes on offense. Like there's something missing there. And they had a phenomenal game against Green Bay. I'll give them that. They had a phenomenal game. But there's just something missing. I don't know what it is. But they just don't look like a cohesive unit offensively. And I think the Green Bay game was kind of an outlier ultimately. And I think what's much more concerning than the offense for them is that this is back-to-back weeks that the defense has kind of been somewhat exposed. Like I thought the Packers, they put up 26 on them, but I thought they had missed opportunities. Like they didn't score in the red zone. So I just think like if the defense ain't going to be as good and like the Jaguars put up 34 on them, like that scares me a little bit, but they're still the 1 seed in the AFC, so not going to panic yet, but I think there are starting to see cracks in the Denver Broncos game right now. 5, New England. Big win against Baltimore. Huge win. Absolutely massive win to stay in the 1 seed conversation. You want the playoffs running through Foxborough, and I think more importantly, you need to stay ahead of the Bills so you're not losing this division. And the Bills got the win, you got the win, so that would have been a big game for the Bills if you had lost that. But yeah, you need to fix that run defense. You need to get Milton Williams back to fix that a little bit. But other than that, I mean, this is a really good football team with Drake May at the helm. At number 4, Jacksonville. If you told me Jacksonville number 4 this late in the season, I would have laughed at you. But they are playing phenomenal football. Trevor Lawrence is like leading the league in touchdown passes over the past 5 or 6 games. I mean, playing phenomenally, and you got to give them credit for that. Big win against the Broncos. I really didn't think they were going to win, but they did. They proved me wrong. Just crazy that they're here. Crazy. And Liam Cohen's doing a phenomenal job. We'll see how the 1 seed and stuff shakes out, which they're perfectly alive in that conversation as well. Number 3, Buffalo. This team is just, as long as they have Josh Allen and James Cook, which James Cook was phenomenal. Josh Allen was all right. But James Cook, especially, like, this guy's a rushing yard leader. Like, he's having a career year. And the Bills paid him in the offseason. Probably good that they did when they did, because he'd be making a lot more money if they had to pay him this offseason. But yeah, they're just a really good football team. As long like with Josh Allen and James Cook, I think they're coached well. Can their defense be a little bit shaky? Did they let the Browns kind of hang around a little bit? Yeah, but at the end of the day, I gotta put you high when you have Josh Allen. Sue me, say what you want about it, but that's just how I feel. At number 2, Seahawks. Seahawks fans might get mad at me. Oh, we just beat the Rams. I don't really care. Like I said with the Bears and the Packers, you got to look at the games and see who played better. This ain't the record rankings. This ain't we beat them in head-to-head matchup ranking. You're both 1-1 now. I thought the Rams played a better game. They did. I thought their quarterback played better. You got a punt return touchdown. They missed a field goal. You had the most insane 2-point conversion play ever. Like, a lot of things went your way to win the game. And great win. You're still the second best team in football, in my opinion. That should be like a That shouldn't be an insult. But ultimately, I just think the Rams are a better football team. And that's why I got the Rams at 1. One of my favorite graphs is offensive EPA per play and defensive EPA per play. And I looked at historically, a team has always won the Super Bowl who's in the top right quadrant, which would be good in offensive EPA per play, good in defensive EPA per play. Rams are in a league of their own right now. They are in the top right corner. Like, they are playing really, really good football. They have the last time Matthew Stafford was playing like this, they won the Super Bowl. Puka Nacua, phenomenal. Once they get Devontae Adams back, if he is back in time for the playoffs, like, they're just playing really good. And like I said, for Seahawks fans, I just think the Rams are a better football team. Offensively, I think they have more answers. Their quarterback's better. And defensively, they're a bunch that makes plays. I think Seahawks probably have the better defense as a whole, but the Rams kind of expose your defense a little bit, and you expose the Rams defense for sure, but I just think the Rams are a better football team. And, that's just how I feel at the end of the day. And you can hate me for it, but I'm just staying true to how I feel. I'm not gonna fold under the pressure of putting Seahawks at number 1 if I don't believe it. But there you have it. 10 through 1. At 1, the Rams, 2 Seahawks, 3 Bills, 4 Jags, 5 Patriots, 6 Broncos, 7 Texans, 8 Niners, 9 Packers, 10 Bears. That is it for your Bracken Best for Week 16. All right. That's going to do it for me today. I didn't talk about the Broncos-Jags game. Same old for the Broncos on offense. Just really aren't able to get much going. But ultimately, that defense, it's a little scary that they're kind of getting exposed over these past 2 weeks. But they're still a great team, and they'll still make the playoffs and could go on a run. I can definitely see it. But yeah, please like, subscribe, comment, check out TikTok. All those things help a ton. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Merry Christmas. We're almost there. I'll probably have an episode coming out on Christmas Day or Christmas night, probably. Reacting to some of the games there, but honestly, some of the games suck, so maybe not. But, enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates or whatever you celebrate. Have a happy holidays. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe out there. Enjoy, and we'll be seeing you in the next one. Take it easy.